Below, you can see the AurigaMAX launch vehicle sitting on the pad at Vandenberg, fueling nearly complete, ready to launch the III-7 to orbit. III-7 is a military reconnaissance satellite from the Atlantic Space Systems Force, or ASSF. The ASSF chose ASE to launch several satellites for the SITE constellation, with the next mission for them being III-11. ASE is proud to be supporting national security from space. Due to the classified nature of the payload today, no views will be shown of the second stage's flight to orbit after stage separation, and no views of the payload deployment will be shown. Instead, we will confirm confirmation of payload deployment on social media later today, and focus on the first stage's RTLS descent to LZ-1, located right near this launch pad. Usually, you'll see our rocket start to tilt to the right after liftoff. Today, we will be targeting a retrograde orbit, meaning we will pitch over to the left this time, changing the upper stage's orbit direction and the direction from which the first stage comes back in. At the customer's request, we designed a mission patch for this flight. Let's take a look at that. The shield shape of the badge represents the satellite's national security mission, keeping the nation safe. Along the sides, it shows the launch vehicle and mission names. There are 3 stars to represent the site missions we are currently contracted for: 7, 11, and 12. In the center, you can see the Earth being depicted with a red streak coming from it, but not coming back around. That part represents the classified flight profile, not knowing its orbital destination. You can see that the booster on this flight is brand new and clean, meaning it has not been used on a mission before this. We are set to start reusing Block 2.1 boosters with the next mission, Slick Seeker. The first stage from Mission 32 has been checked out in the past weeks, and will be mated with 37's upper stage segment and payload for flight. Reuse should then become more and more regular again, reducing the cost of our launches. As we approach liftoff, the strong back should start retracting. That's the large black structure next to the rocket, and it'll swing away to avoid being damaged by the rocket's exhaust as it launches in just under 2 minutes from now.
Strong back retract has started.
90 seconds to launch. I'll quiet down now and see you in flight.
Vehicles in auto idle. Vehicles in startup.
Propellant closing out.
Flight computer configured for launch.
Auriga has lifted off, cleared max Q and is pitching downrange to reach its target retrograde orbit. Coming up here shortly is main engine cutoff or MECO, stage separation, SES1 and boost back burn startup. As a reminder, we will not show any views of the upper stage after staging due to the classified payload we have on board.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage 2 is under its own power with SES1, focusing on the first stage's recovery operations now.
Stage 1 boost back startup.
Once again, we have 3 burns to perform in the recovery phase of the mission. The first one, which is underway right now, is the boost back burn. It cancels out all the
Fairing separation confirmed.
downrange velocity to put us on a trajectory to return to the target landing zone. The second burn is the entry burn,
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
which is performed just after the start of atmospheric re-entry. It scrubs off some more velocity to protect the vehicle's systems from the aerodynamic forces and re-entry heating. The final burn is the landing burn, which occurs at about 4 kilometers all the way down to the ground, cutting off just as we touch down. After those are complete, we will have another first stage back on land ready to be reused. A moment ago, that boost back burn wrapped up, the booster has reoriented and we are now coasting in space, falling back down and preparing for atmospheric entry. Those little bursts you see coming from the top of the booster are the RCS thrusters firing to keep us in a good orientation. Entry burn coming up shortly.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Entry burn shutdown.
Entry burn has also been completed now. Let's watch as this booster comes home.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Alright, our booster has successfully landed at LZ2. Reminder that this will now bring our broadcast to a close, due to the classified payload and lack of upper stage views. We will confirm successful payload deployment on social media later today after the fact. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to the ASSF for trusting us with this critical payload. Next up, Mission 37, Slick Seeker.